Good morning. As the video title suggests, this morning we're going to speak about immigration, illegal immigration and remigration. And some of the general talking points I hear often we're speaking to people in the real world and some things that I've seen online and stuff. And the reason why it's important to understand the difference between the three is so you don't have any consequences later down the line where what you've said could be misconstrued and something you've said is used against you in a court of law. So, firstly, let's talk about immigration. Immigration, in my view, and a lot of people's view, is a wonderful thing. We live in such a small world at the moment where it's easy enough to travel about and it's cheap enough to travel about, and there are opportunities presented around the world for various professions and a necessity for workforce in various fields and stuff. And even sometimes someone might work toward a dream of living here, there or anywhere, and that should be their right to choose where they want to see out their retirement or go and raise a family and things like that. So I'm very for immigration. Now, what immigration would be to me would be someone with a particular set of skills, who's accrued these skills through education or through apprenticeships, scholarships and things like that, and there is a need for that person's skill in another country, a legally defined mass of land. Now, let's say Scotland had a shortage of shipbuilders and there's a bunch of Filipino guys who have the adequate skill requirements and understanding of the job needed, but they don't have the work there. I think it's more than reasonable if these people meet a certain criteria that they are welcomed into our home country, which we'll dig into a little bit deeper on later, and I won't be too long-winded. But if that skill set is in shortage here or anywhere, and we can bring in people from other places to fill that gap, then that's can't be short of a good thing, because it keeps that industry alive here, providing jobs and things for other people. Because if you have a land that doesn't have job, you don't have prospects, you don't have prosperity, the society starts to deteriorate and no one wants to live in a deteriorating society, which we seemingly have at the minute for various reasons. Now, illegal immigration, which is the thing that can get you into bother if you are vocal about illegal immigration, and I've seen various views on it online. I've heard various views on illegal immigration in person. Now, there are what could be construed as dangerous opinions, especially if you vocalise them. If you put them out into the world, you could be deemed to be inciting violence. And I'll give one example of that. In the United Kingdom, on social media platforms, I've seen multiple times, if not hundreds of times, various people with the opinion, which isn't my opinion, but saying, we have a navy, get the navy into the channel. When you see an illegal dinghy crossing the channel, kill everyone on board, mow them down, make use of the navy and the force that we have. Now, that could be done. Would that be the civilised way in which our society should deal with things? I think not. The solution is a lot simpler than that. Now, before I made the video, I did research some statistics and things which I didn't look at before the video, but hey, I'm just a normal guy. Let's say we want to deal with the illegal immigration coming from France. We know where these guys are coming from, and it's mostly, according to the reports, mostly men. Now, we could choose the terrible option of taking life and using extreme force, and I don't believe that to be the civilised and reasonable way of doing things. But here's how simply a normal guy could solve that solution. Now, let's say for 5 minutes I'm in charge. I pick up the phone, I phone France. Hello France, it's John. We seem to have a lot of illegal migration coming across into our homeland that we do not wish to have. That's not how we do things here. In our country, we have rules, and to get into our country, legal immigration is the way you come from another country to our country. This illegal immigration must stop. Now France, we're giving you 1 week to resolve this problem by any means you can. If you don't solve this problem, every Citroen, every Peugeot, every French piece of merchandise and equipment that we import from you at the cost to your economy, and I'm sure, and please don't quote me, it was in excess of £40 billion of imported goods, and I'm sure it's more than that. Feel free to check it up and correct me in the comments. But if you do not stop this illegal immigration, as of 8 days' time, every import to your country will be banned, and you will have all this product sitting, not contributing to your GDP. Factories will suffer, employees will suffer, your country will suffer because you are allowing this suffering in our country. Now, I do understand that we export to France, but again, also a figure I've looked into. We export far less into France than they import into us, so we hold the power, we hold the cards. The problem, as I see it, is that we do not have adequate leadership. We have plenty of politicians, plenty of councillors, plenty of political pundits, plenty of people with opinions on what they should do and what they're trying to do, and many buzzwords and quotes saying we are strong on illegal immigration. We are, well, I'm sure they say we are strong on migration. Two different things. Big crow. But you don't have anyone with leadership and someone taking the problem by the scruff of the neck and dealing with it in a civilised manner. So in 5 minutes I could make that call, and I am sure that the French government would not want to lose that sort of business, and they would make things happen. Now, and again, to show what a civilised society we've built here in the United Kingdom and locally in Scotland, we understand that there are illegal migrants have come here, illegal immigrants. And we would say to France, we are not going to burden you with dealing with these people. We will deal with them on our own. But how to deal with that on your own is a much deeper problem. It's hard to trace people who aren't on the legal system, who don't have registered addresses and whatnot. But the money that we would save on dealing with the illegal problem that France is allowing, the money we could save, we could employ so much more police, so much more immigration agents who would go into places that are known to have illegals working, and it's known that a lot of the barber shops, a lot of the salons, a lot of the places with a high percentage of non-Indigenous folk working in them employ a lot of illegal immigrants for cheap labour, and it's actually modern slavery. So if you're against the concept of slavery, you should be against the concept of non-Indigenous folk bringing over through hook or crook people to work to then profit from their lack of welfare, lack of payment, lack of dignity and lack of opportunities, because when you aren't legal, you don't have the opportunity to buy homes, you don't have the opportunity to use some of the services that our wonderful nation provides. So that's how I would briefly, and I could speak about how I would deal with the illegal immigration problem in depth, but the attention span of most people who would stumble across this video, they've already gone. But the point in raising this issue is, look at that and think, are our leaders, are the Keir Starmers, are the Nigel Farages, are the John Swinneys, are they leading us, or are they just unrightfully taking a position that someone better could fill, thus degrading society, causing problems within our communities and in our local areas. And thirdly, I want to speak about remigration. Now, remigration is taking someone non-Indigenous to the land legally and sending them home. Now, I'm in favour of remigration. There has been policies and schemes put in by our governments in the past. You had the Rwanda deal, things like this, which I don't know too much about. And I think that's on purpose. They complicate these things, they are happening, they aren't happening, so you lose attention, so you go back to watching football, your favourite football club, full of immigrants, to normalise the idea of immigration. The remigration plan that I would love to see put in place by a strong leader would be, if you are a legal immigrant and you come into this country and you, for however long you are here until the day you die, you break the law in a manner that's unacceptable to our society. Now, I'm not talking about you get caught speeding or littering, which is a bit of a smite, but if you come here and you commit a serious offence, whether it be violent, sexual in nature, fraudulent, and basically not a behaviour welcomed by the people of the nation, if it's 20 years down the line, you and whatever family you have brought will be remigrated back to wherever you came from as a consequence of this. You will not be held at the taxpayer's expense in a prison, and I'm not saying prisons are cushy, because when you're in prison, you are in a more dangerous environment. Your freedoms have completely been taken away from you. Opportunities and the opportunity for a prosperous and enjoyable full life is no longer there. So I'm not saying the prison system is easy, but it's still an expense to the taxpayer. The prisons are full at the moment, to the point where they're early releasing people which should not be released early. But if you have migrated here legally and you commit something that's generally agreed upon by society, that's basically taking the piss out of the country that's been hospitable to you and given you opportunities that you couldn't have had in your home nation, you will be remigrated there instantly on conviction. There will be due course because these people are legal in the country, and that's how I would love to see strong leadership take that stance. Now, as for illegal immigration, if you are an illegal migrant and you are here and you have committed these crimes, the sentence will be far, far, far more serious. And this topic, excuse me, I'll have a sip before I get into that and lube up the vocal cords. And compose myself a little. Because I don't want to become too passionate. When you become too passionate on a subject, that's when you can misspeak things that could be used against you. And I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to jeopardise the wonderful free life that I have. I don't want to be a bad example to other people so they then go and recount what I've said and it also puts them into bother. I want to be responsible with my words. But if an illegal migrant comes here and commits a violent crime, a sex crime, theft, something that caused harm, loss or injury to a legal citizen, the consequence should be strong. And what I would do in that instance, I would have work camps. Now, work camps is a buzzword that can send people off. You think you're going down a fantasy tangent into glorifying the common perception of Nazi Germany. And I do and I will bring up Nazi Germany quite a lot because it is part of our recent history. There's a lot to be learned for it. There's a lot of misinformation about Germany at the time. To go back into a bit of my life. When I was a boy, I watched Schindler's List. I loved the movie because it had such an emotional sentiment to it, and it hit you very hard. I've watched the movie dozens of times as a child, and that movie made an impression on me. But the older I get and the more I look into things, I see that it was propaganda. It wasn't based on fact. It was millions of pounds or millions of dollars were put into the production of that movie to have that effect on me, so I would empathise and believe that to be reality when it was not reality. Reality is not what you see on TV, it's not what you see on the news, it's not what you see on social media. To understand reality, you must look at it with your own eyes, decipher the information with your own mind, logically, as dispassionately as possible, and then you will get a sense of what reality is. Now, I may be wrong and you may be wrong, but at least it's your own views. But back to the point, work camps. If the illegal migrant commits a crime, they are not just sent back to wherever they came from to then work their way back here. They will be given a sentence that some will deem harsh, and I understand it, but leadership requires harsh decisions to be made, and sometimes those decisions aren't and don't sit well with the meek amongst us, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to upset people to move forward with life and keep things going in a positive and prosperous way for yourself, for your family, for your community and for your nation. And we do not have that. So these work camps would involve the manufacturing of things that we use in everyday society, jobs that are essential, but something that is going to be hard work, something that machinery or technology can't quite replace. And even people coming across, if the French don't get their finger out their arse and sort the problem, if people do make it over via other means, if they come from Belgium or if they come via Ireland or whatever, if illegals do come here and we catch them, we do put them to these work camps and we punish them, because punishment isn't a terrible thing. If my child steps out of line and I don't punish them, I'm being an irresponsible parent. If someone breaks into my home uninvited or unwanted, if I don't punish them and pass that burden on to the police, how are my family going to look at me? The country is an extension of our home. I think most reasonable people would agree that if someone is uninvited into your home, or someone you don't want into your home makes their way into your home, you have the place and the responsibility to protect your family and loved ones from whatever this person's intentions are. And that is not the civilised way to enter a home. You don't just walk into someone's home. You never do that. You just simply don't do that unless you're invited in, if you've qualified yourself to be welcome in that place. And the same with a country, because Scotland is an extension of my home, the United Kingdom is an extension of my home, and Europe is an extension of my home. And unless we have people and leaders willing to protect that home, we live in a falsehood that we have leadership. We can see every day that uninvited people are coming into the country, and the leaders are doing very little about it. They're doing wordsmithery. They're getting in front of the news and saying, we have a new plan and we're going to implement this, that and the other. We're going to be strong on this. It's absolutely bullshit. And it will continue over to the next election with false promises and someone else saying, we will do this, we will stop that. And at the end of the day, they don't have the leadership. They don't want to upset people. And I don't want to upset people. And I don't want to be cruel, because I'm not a cruel person. It's not in my nature to be cruel. But I will be firm and I will be hard when it comes to protecting my family, protecting my home and the extension of my home, my country. And word to anyone watching who is in a position of power, or if the police are watching that came to my door last week, be aware that the growth in National Socialism, not only in the UK, but in North America and other countries in Europe, from the information that I've gathered, is a growing belief. Now, if that grows and grows and grows, and we get a day where National Socialism, the doing what's best for your home and the extension of your home, your country, gets into political power, you will be held to account for your failings in society today. That will involve prison, that will involve work camps, that will involve the loss of this freedom that you have at the moment because you did not draw a moral line, because you go through life and money is your God. You idolise the money. And we all have responsibilities and burdens. We all have things to pay for. But there must be a line in which you as a human being says, I will not allow this to happen because I have a duty to my home and to my greater home, my country, that my ancestry fought and bled for, if history is to be believed. And even if you look at a more local timeline, I have had family that were down the coal mines. I know guys that worked down coal mines. I have met people that were in the wars. I've heard accounts of people that's relatives and things fought and died to keep our nation strong. And it wasn't for weak politics. It wasn't to let our home country be taken advantage of, and the wonderful infrastructure and services that they hoped that I would have and that you would have, they would be turning in their graves. So a word to the wise, or a word to those in power, this movement that you deem as radical and as far right is growing, and it will continue to grow and grow and grow until the problem is stopped. And if it doesn't stop, then National Socialism, people with stronger views than yours and with the mustard to make decisions that will lead the country in a better way, will hold you to account. So briefly, in summary, I'm pro-immigration. I welcome immigration wherever you're from in the world. I don't care what colour you are, but if you can come here, and yes, I am tribal. I would love to live in a world where everyone has a culture and a history and a background similar to mine. I would love it if everyone was white and everyone round about me was Scottish, but we don't live in an ideal world. And sometimes we do need people from other races and other countries and other cultures to come in and fill positions that we aren't filling ourselves. That comes down to, that's a problem that we've created through education, the deterioration of our universities and our schools and our colleges. That is all happening. But when National Socialism takes over, and it will take over, these wrongs will be righted. There will be no more useless degrees. There will be no more agendas other than education pushed in colleges and high schools and primary schools and universities. The esteem of our wonderful universities, Glasgow and Edinburgh, St Andrews, will come back rather than being looked at by the general public. And I speak to the general public. I'm not speaking with think tanks and other silver spoon-fed people. I'm speaking to the people on the ground. The majority of people in the majority of Scotland is the working class and the salt of society. We no longer look at these institutions as something that earns you credit. If anything, when someone tells me they've been to Edinburgh Uni or they've been to University of Scotland or they've been to St Andrews, I'm like, oh, here we go, another idiot. And I don't want that. There are people, I'm sure, within these establishments who do want the best, but there is also this liberal, wet element that wants to indoctrinate and poison the minds of the young, because it is easiest to poison the minds of the young. Like I said previously, I was poisoned by Hollywood and propaganda and believing what history the schools taught me, believing what older people taught me, because they weren't educated in a lot of these things either. They were fed a narrative through news and they just regurgitate it. So immigration, wonderful. Illegal immigration, had enough. Remigration, it could be on the cards, it should be on the cards, and it is hopefully something that we don't need to do all that often, but it is a necessity in society as far as I'm concerned. In a peaceful, civilised, non-violent way. It's better than the way that some of the uneducated people, some of the men that you see kicking about, adult men that kick about in football strips and tracksuits. We all have different capacities. Sadly, these people are allowed to vote. These people are allowed to have an opinion. Do I want to go down the rabbit hole of who should be allowed to vote? I think you should qualify to vote. Everyone shouldn't have a vote. If you can't go to a polling booth, hit a couple of multiple choice questions and you don't know the capital of the UK, or you don't know the capital of France, or you don't know the difference between immigration, illegal immigration and remigration, sorry, you don't get a vote today. That's leadership. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to make a few more videos, but before I go, this is the second time I've made a video up here recently. I am planning to do different locations from different parts of Scotland, not just in the Central Belt, but I will travel about because I want to show off my wonderful nation. I want to show that I'm proud of and gracious for where I've been born and why I want to protect the beautiful country that I have, and the extension of that would be the UK. I love the United Kingdom. So thanks for listening to me. It was a bit more hastily, it was a quicker video than I did the last time, but last time was a dangerous one. If you haven't seen it, I would appreciate it if you go back and give me some feedback on that as well. So as always, thanks for the attention. God bless. Right down the middle. Goodbye.